No,
All
stop
right,
at all.
my good people. That's right. Like, comment, share at Extreme 104 SVG. All right. So we're talking minibus fares this morning, and I know it's gonna go down a kind of road. Oh shucks, the puns. Um,
Yeah, he didn't catch that one. Yeah.
it's gonna go down the road, and some of the roads that we really can't make a U-turn and come back.
Just had to run through the pothole.
It just had to go with it. You understand? Even though the police might be right there, just be like, oh shucks, but ticket for me today. All right. Good morning to all the drivers. Good morning to passengers. Good morning to conductors. All those who are listening right now. You're on the live. Good morning. Make sure you share and comment on what's not. Right. So, Deputy Prime Minister. St. Vincent and Grenadines, that's how they have it on gov.vc. That's how it is. Minister of Transport, Works, Lands and Physical Planning, Honorable Montgomery Daniel, said last week that we should prepare for a possible hike in bus and taxi fares. Now, the taxi associations, there are more than one. It must be nice to have more than one taxi associations as compared to the minibus. They don't have any at all, not a single one. I don't know if there are others that are like ghosts. They're there, but you don't see them, but you feel their presence. No idea. But they went to the transportation board and they said, we need to sit down and discuss a possible increase in the fares because since 2018, which was the last SRNO, gas has gone up significantly. Inflation on other items that we have to use in our day-to-day runnings, that we have to use to maintain our businesses and to operate our businesses, they've gone up. So we need to talk about this because no Sankey can't sing so again. And it's nice that they have taken the initiative to go to the board, to go to the respective entity, respective government agency, which is the Ministry of Transport.
To voice their concerns,
right? And to say, let's have a conversation about it. Now, he said on radio, the Taxi Association and the Omnibus Association are both facing operational challenges as a result of rising fuel prices and the cost of vehicle maintenance. I have spoken with the police department, and as minister responsible, I have suggested that the Transport Board meet to discuss the request of the Taxi Association and the Minibus Association, and to advise the cabinet where to proceed. Hold on, it's coming. Here's another one, right? I think it's a fair comparison, and y'all pay attention, where we all need to have the facts before us in order to make a decision. But the final decision falls to the Transportation Board. This here, right? Some of the buses in St. Vincent and the Grenadines went ahead and raised their prices, charging consumers a bit more to take them from one place to the next. Something that they should have taken upon themselves to do? That's a big question. They got stickers in the vans. No, the fare is not $2 anymore, it's $2.50. We're not charging $1 for short drops anymore, it's $1.50. And people have been paying that. Now, I want to know at this point, right? What is happening to Vintas, which is supposed to be the body that governs all of these things, supposed to be the body that will take care of the minibuses, when I say minibuses, businesses, the drivers, the conductors, all of their issues, to improve the quality, the overall quality of the service, to write on behalf of the minibuses to the government if there needs to be some sort of change in the system. They're supposed to be the ones who should be taking the charge on that. But in this here, the Minibus Association, Vintas, absent. So we're going to find out right about now what is happening to Vintas. As far as most of us know, Mr. Roy Ron Adams, and he's been in here a few times speaking on behalf of the minibuses, the drivers and conductors, airing their issues and sharing what his association had in store for the overall service. Gonna find out what's happening. I think he should be the one to say that was and not is the head of Vintas at the time. what is happening now. Has he joined us yet?
Yes, he has.
Good morning, Mr. Adams.
Hi, good morning, Crystal. How are you?
Not hearing him.
Turn around that. Let me see. No, so.
He's in, but not hearing.
Adams.
Hi. Hi, good
I
morning.
can't hear you. And that's the original one, right?
Are you hearing me?
Not hearing you at this time. Here's what. Do you want to try using your phone? Not
we're
able
hearing
to
him.
Are you hearing me?
hear. What is happening here? Okay, so while we wait on that, all right, let's share some responses coming in on the WhatsApp right now.
I have a problem with the raising of the bus fee, but workers' salary needs to be raised as well, because right now it's just passage we're working for, and some of the roads not even good.
Jeez, I'm bread.
I think the bus drivers could argue that point that the roads are not good.
Could argue. Could argue.
They could.
No, actually they can't.
Why
Why?
can't they argue that the roads aren't good enough?
Because it does drive the road good.
How you want them make the money?
Okay.
Yeah, but if you drive on a bad road, like if not wrong with the bad road,
Okay.
then when you complain about part, you complain about parts. So.
Okay, let's try with
Talk
Roy
to us.
again. Hey.
Talk to us, Roy. Good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Still nothing? Oh,
Still
hold on.
nothing. It's not muted. Oh, that's good. Yeah, that's good. That's good.
Okay, so
try,
you know what,
try
Roy?
not using your headphones.
No. It still wouldn't work. You know what? Let's
Disconnect
go
it
the
and
old
see.
school way, yeah?
Hello?
Old
Hello?
school.
Not sure what's happening there. So let's go the old school way, yeah? You could keep on the thing, unless you're using the same phone that I'm calling here.
Okay.
Okay? So trying to get this other thing here loaded so I could play a voice note for you.
Looks like you answered there.
Hello, good morning. Hello.
Hi, good morning.
Hi, how you doing? How you doing? What's up? Welcome to the wake up call again, man.
Yeah, we're hearing you. It's a bit.
It's breaking up a little bit.
Yeah, breaking up a little bit there.
Are you hearing me, Claire?
We're hearing you clear now.
Yes.
You
What's
can-
up, Mr. Adams?
I think you back the camera.
Yes, is it?
No problem.
I mean, yeah, just muted. He's there, so it just goes to show that he's there.
Okay.
What's up, Mr. Adams? How are you?
I'm good. What about you?
I am doing fine. I'm doing wonderful this morning here. All right. So we're talking about minibus, the fares, and you are our go-to guy when it concerns that, because, well, I guess up to a few minutes ago, you were not a few minutes ago, but are you still the head of Vintas?
Crystal, good morning again, and good morning to all of citizens and the Grenadines. I have to say that I was somewhat surprised when I got your message and eventually your call to appear on your show to speak about issues relating to public transportation / minibus. As you would be aware, I got involved in the leadership of the organization somewhere in 2020, early in the pandemic, around March or so. It's not something I ever anticipated that I would have been doing, but at the time, the organization needed someone to step up and be part of the leadership, to lead the conversation as it relates to COVID-19 and the protocols and the relationship with the industry and government. Things didn't exactly go as planned. I learned a lot over those 2 years, and sometime in July, August, I would have tendered my resignation.
You're serious?
I don't believe that there is a president in place at the moment. I think the rest of the executives somewhat in abeyance, dormant, and so once again, the organization is in need of leadership. Before I exited we were very close to having the organization formally become a legal entity through through our attorneys. And I believe that it, in some way, that would still materialize. It's something I would still love to ensure that we achieve.
Why did you leave though?
Well, you know, at some point in time when you realize that you're beating up your head against a brick wall and it's only your head that is going to get hurt, I think you have to make a decision in the interest of yourself.
Okay.
Ultimately, I don't believe that the industry is ready for structure. I don't believe that the industry is ready for an organization that would self-regulate. I don't believe that owners and operators are serious about being part of an organization that can advocate for the interests of the industry as a whole, even if it means instituting self-regulation to ensure that the services that are delivered to the traveling public is done in a consistent, safe, and amicable manner. I also don't believe that policymakers are ready to make a decision to regulate either.
When you say policymakers, who are you talking about?
Government.
Policymakers, government, those are the one who makes the policies with respect to public transportation.
Is that because probably they didn't have faith in like what you guys presented? Because if
No,
if your organization is not up, as you just said, you don't believe that they were ready for certain things. They probably look at it like, hey, these guys ain't serious. We don't study them.
No, I think for years there has been other leadership of similar organization, whether it be Omnibus Association, now Vintus, who have put forward solid representation for the industry. I just think that, as you would know, when you talk about public transportation, most of the minibus, you're talking about touching the lives of the rank and file of Vincentian. You're talking about touching poor people. Anytime you increase bus fare, you're increasing a constituency that policymakers are going to keep their eyes on. We have to understand that. And ultimately, that is the constituency that keeps government in power and take government out of power. So it is not always as straightforward as we think, that suddenly fuel price going up and you're going to get an increase in price. I welcome the suggestion by the Minister of Transport that the Transport Board would be revisiting and discussing potential increases in fare. I would have to be a pessimist here. I'm not too optimistic that minibus operators is going to see any increase in prices. I think that's a long shot right now.
Because of politics.
It's too big a decision, and it's a decision that clearly have been avoided for years. It's not that the increase in price is not warranted for years, but it's been avoided for years. And I don't think right now in our current economic climate, you're going to see government increase bus fare. I mean, I just think that that's a long shot.
But isn't it hurting the businesses?
It has been hurting for years. I mean, from the moment VAT was introduced, it was hurting. From the moment all of the parts and the prices have been inflated, it has been hurting. It's not now.
It's a long time.
The challenge is, as you know, it's an industry where there's no barrier to entry.
That is true.
So that the competition from on one route could move from 0 to 100 in a matter of a day. And then suddenly a bus that you are operating and making a decent living on becomes unprofitable. And some would say that that's normal for business, it's competition, and that's good. But the minibus business is not an ordinary business. It's not a business where you could pass on your cost to consumers the moment you have operational price increase. You can't slip it in nowhere and say, well, okay, I'm going to increase $1 here on this good, on this particular good, and take a loss on the other good. You don't have those kind of options.
As you mentioned that, right? In some buses that passengers use on a day-to-day basis, there is a sticker in the bus that says, "Attention passenger, new travel destination prices." Right? Kingstown to Arnesville, $1.50. Town to Arnesville, $2. Town Arnesville Villa Glen, $2.50. And I'm gonna speak specifically to Glen. So some of the buses have already told passengers or consumers that their fares have increased. You just said is not something that they can easily pass on to the consumers, but some of them have already done that.
Well, if they're doing so illegally, and they know that. They don't have the authority to increase bus fare overnight. That has to be approved and gazetted by the government. So any persons who are charging consumers more than what the gazetted price by the government is for their route is breaking the law, and they can be held accountable if a passenger decides to take the matter further.
So even if I'm not a part of the association and I have my own private, I have to still go by the regulations that is provided?
And there's no exception to the rule. As long as you own a minibus and you're operating, you charge the gazetted prices. Now, before you jump to conclusions, some of those prices that they perhaps are now communicating could have been the gazetted prices, because many routes were still operating below the gazetted prices. So before you say that it is a pass on or it is an increase, you may want to verify if that wasn't the originally gazetted price.
Yeah,
because
because
it's just that consumer wasn't paying.
Because she just
those
mentioned a
original
few
gazetted
prices, and I have a different sticker with some different prices here. Because one is saying from Tongue to Cyan Hill is $1.50, and you just said,
Town to Arnesville is
Tom-
$1.50.
yeah, and
But-
then the one from Tongue to Arnesville here is $2.
Let me ask a question here, right? So if the gazetted price for a fare is $2.50, which is what should be paid by the consumer, so it is okay for that bus to charge less than, but why?
No, it's not. It's not okay for the bus to charge less than. It is consumers who are not paying the gazetted fare. And I think this is where you have to understand the economics. I give you an example. For years, the bus fare to Vermont has been $3, and there are some passengers who, in defiance, will not pay $3.
And the conductor cannot demand that the consumer pays the $3.
Well, they can demand. That doesn't mean you're going to be successful in getting it. And very often that leads to the type of confrontation that you don't want. And so, again, when some buses have decided to take less than the gazetted fare, this is where the issue of competition drives the non-compliance to the gazetted fare. So in a way, the operators have themselves to blame for not instituting and ensuring that consumers comply with the gazetted fare, but rather allow competition to dictate the acceptance of less than the gazetted fare.
Right. So because the way I see it, like as a consumer myself, if a van is taking the correct fare and this other van is taking $1, for example, this van is taking $1.50 because that's the correct fare. This one is taking $1. Naturally, you will be inclined to travel in the bus that takes $1, and that kind of pushes the guy who's charging the correct fare out of quote unquote business because he's getting less passengers because he's charging the correct fare, which is more. I mean, the togetherness. Like, was that another reason you were like knocking your head on the wall with the association? The togetherness, it wasn't really there.
It wasn't really there. I don't think it was ever there, and I don't know if in my lifetime I would see the level of togetherness within the minibus sector, minibus industry.
Why you say that?
That would allow for an organization to have the strength in advocacy to influence change from policymakers. Why do I say that?
Yeah.
Because you're talking about all independent operators, everybody who have purchased their buses on their own and believes that their own interests supersede the interests of the industry.
And I'm sure you had a plan to to deal with that. What was it? Because you said you were the president at one time.
Well, I mean, there's that saying that without vision, the people would perish. I think I took up the position believing that I have a vision as to where I can take the organization, providing that the support and togetherness is there. You can't advocate for 50 people when you have an industry of 650. You can't go to policymakers and influence change when only 100 of your members are supporting you and another 500 is on the sideline doing what they want. That's not how you get change.
So
That's not how you make an impact.
So you're saying majority of them were not confident in your methods and what you had offered, what you brought to the table?
Well, the question here is not about my method. The question here.
Well, they look up to you as the president, so they would have. You're the president, so.
I don't believe it was about me. It was never about me. I think everything that I shared with members or non-members was about the industry. It has always been, and I have always stressed in the need for structure, the need to have a solid foundation. Everybody want to get to X, but nobody want to go through the entire alphabet. Nobody want to roll up the sleeves and make sure that the organization is properly structured, that we have all of the necessary legality to it, that we have simple things, proper letterhead, proper website, membership database, how you manage your database, how you're able to communicate to your members, how you finance all those things. Listen.
So you brought all this. You brought all this to the table, and they weren't. It wasn't received by them.
Of course, we had a membership database that we subscribed to from a database out of Canada that is widely used, very respected. That allowed us to manage our membership electronically, issue electronic cards. Those things were already in place.
This is tears, man. This is tears.
You can't go to suppliers such as Star Garage and Cash Money and all of the big part suppliers and negotiate preferential rates with 50 people. So they're going to look at you and say, well, why should I give you preferential rate for 50 people or 100 people when I have 500 more buying from me anyways? It is not simple. So I understand the challenges that the industry is facing, but you can fix some of these challenges. You can get some movement only if you're willing to say, guys, the interest of the industry as a whole is greater than the interest of our individual owners and individual drivers. And that's going to be the challenge for years to come.
So in other words,
unless of course policymakers decide to take the risks that they've been avoiding to take for nearly 40 years and regulate.
So this is how it's going to be. That's what I'm getting. This is how it's going to be unless the government, you say policymakers, unless the government of the day decides to put their foot down and possibly lose votes here, there, and everywhere. I guess if they get fed up of being in office, in their fourth year, they can say, let us regulate the minibus association or the industry. When you look at, when I read that article there were two of them. When I read it, the taxis were the ones, because they have three associations.
I did not know that.
And they're listed there in one of the articles. They went to the government. Minibuses, 600 plus, do not have a single functioning association. Isn't that a problem? And they were not the ones who wrote to the government. The government's response was, okay, taxis wrote, let us look at everybody now.
Well, again, you ask the question, and I believe that you ask it knowing the answer. Of course, it's a problem. It's a problem when your biggest constituency of public transportation is not at the table having a discussion with respect to potential price increase or any change in policy. It must be a problem. But the problem is there because of what I just outlined. The knee-jerk reaction to only want advocacy when there's a problem can't work. It can't be only when price increase. It can't be only when there's a pandemic. It can't be only when there's a disaster that you want leadership or you want an organization to advocate on your behalf. No, That's not how it works.
Is that why
Have to
e-bus
come
can't
with-
work?
Crystal.
The facts are right there.
Yeah.
Stand up at any bus
Yeah.
station that has the e-bus, the stand, the little screen.
It shows a
Look
lot.
at how many buses are on it.
It's like
5.
Yeah.
I could check the app right now and tell
Yeah.
you.
Well, I mean, yeah, you are quite intelligent enough to conclude that the bus is facing some challenges simply because one, I believe the relationship between policymakers and minibus owners are not exactly in a good place. And two, I don't believe it provides any benefit to minibus operators.
Although the benefit is to the industry, anyways. You
Well-
you said it before. Individual benefit versus industry benefit.
Right, so we're going back there again, right? If you look at the industry as a whole, you would say, well, this is fantastic. You know, consumers get to understand where buses are. They get to see, you know, how they can manage their time, get out of school, get out of work, get down to the bus stop.
Run to the
But
supermarket.
But what does minibus operators, what are they concerned about?
Making money.
Would it drive demand? No, it wouldn't drive demand. You're not going to make people travel more. The people who are traveling are already traveling.
But I might wait for special bus because
But they're already doing that.
and consumers wasting hours on the road. Sometimes the van gone off the road and they don't even know.
Quick.
And that necessarily is not going to change because it still comes down to timing. When do I leave Kingston? Do I have enough passengers to leave Kingston to get back to Georgetown? When do I leave Georgetown? Do I have enough passengers? Do I think the road is right for me to pick up along the way? Listen, the dynamics involved doesn't mean that the e-bus system would drive demand. It wouldn't.
That's sad.
It wouldn't drive demand. It's great for consumers because consumers get to manage their time. But here's what getting to the bus stop don't guarantee you. It don't guarantee you a seat on the bus. It don't tell you if the bus is empty, full or what. You can get to the bus stop on time and you get there and that bus don't have room for you.
They pass
What
you.
will you do?
You look on the app
look-
again
you
and
look
wait for
on
the next
app.
bus.
Yeah, I was just about to say that. you
Which
meant
you would have done anyway.
yeah. You mentioned something.
I mean,
You mentioned that you want the policy makers to do something. What exactly do you want them to do? What you would like for them to do?
I didn't say that I want them to do something. I said the industry would never get to the level of togetherness
Okay.
that is required for advocacy, for change in policies, unless, of course, policymakers and governments decide enough is enough. We are going to regulate. We are going to dictate how you own a minibus. We are going to dictate how
Okay.
you get an 8 license properly. We're going to dictate
okay.
the training necessary in order for you to operate a minibus, become a conductor. We are going to do that.
Okay.
Unless the government does that, the owners and operators would never see the need to come together and be a strong association to advocate. Right now, there's no need in their opinion. Except when fuel prices increase, a pandemic has arisen. But the things that the public are concerned about, the loud music, the recklessness, the overloading, all these things that the public are concerned about, self-regulation could deal with it. But there's no regulation that is better than regulation coming from the law, coming from policymakers.
Self-regulation has not gotten us very far. And
Well, we haven't self-regulated.
okay, self-regulation has not gotten us anywhere. It's like the vehicle don't have no engine. I could draw a quick comparison to the taxi associations. They have regulations that are coming down from the policymakers. They have to maintain a certain level of quality service because they are dealing with who? Foreigners. Yes, they're dealing with locals, but for the most part, they have to interact with foreigners. So they have to offer a high level quality service. In order to do that, it has to be regulated. I know for the most part, the Civils and Grenadines Tourism Authority who would spearhead some of these initiatives. In order to have access to certain places and certain things, you have to go through SVGTA. But for regular folks and for the rest of the population who live here 24/7, all right.
There is, as far as I know, there is no government regulation that decides who owns a taxi or gets into the taxi business, right?
Right,
You
but
can-
I'm
you can
talking
get
about
up
like
and down everything.
quality as well.
Well, quality depends on where you operate. I suppose if you operate at the airport where you have to comply with the rules and regulation of the airport, then you have to self-regulate. If you operate at the cruise ship boat, you have to self-regulate. But if you're operating on the taxi stand just down the road, you're almost like a minibus. The quality of your service comes down to you. Yeah.
All right.
And if you're a member of any of the associations. But it's a very dynamic industry, and like I said, it's one that would continue to. You would continue to see these type of sporadic representation in the industry unless something changes.
All right. Now, Mr. Adams, unfortunately, we got to go right now because you know how it is. Got to pay the bills. I want to thank you so much for taking the time out to join us this morning. I'm so sorry that you had to resign, and it's been almost a year since you resigned. All the best to the existing organizations and the entire industry, and all the best to you. Maybe in the future you'll take up a similar mantle or the same mantle again. Yes, no? No,
Well, I
you
mean,
know that.
No, personally, I'm still committed to assisting where necessary. To be honest, I am not averse to that at all.
Wait, quick question. Are you a bus operator?
Yeah, I've been a bus operator for 10 years or more. In fact, many people were surprised because they think that I wasn't in the industry at the time, but I've always been in the industry prior to.
All right. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day.
Sure.
All right. Thank you so much, Roy. Ron, there you have it.